All right, I mentioned, let me change this. This is number 4. This is number 4 in the prospecting series. And this is Ron Climer at Climer School of Real Estate in Orlando, Florida. And we are here just to help you do better selling real estate. That's the purpose of these videos. We're at Climer School in Orlando, Florida. And by the way, if these videos are a help to you, hey, recommend this to a friend. We appreciate that. But I want to talk to you today about asking questions. And I mentioned in the last video, if you watch that, that it's imperative that you learn to ask questions. And anything you can put in the form of a statement, you can probably put in the form of a question. For instance, it's a nice day today. That's a statement. Well, how about, what do you think of this weather? Now, if I say, what do you think of this weather? What's going to happen? The other guy is going to get an opportunity to talk. If I say it's a nice day today, he might be thinking, oh yeah, it's too hot for me. It's too cold for me. You know, who knows? But if I say, hey, what do you think of this weather? Man, this is the best weather in the world. Or I hate this weather. But whatever it is, he's liking it better. Now, with questions, there's all kind of questions you can ask, but just try this. I mean, just something as simple as the weather. If you can say it in the form of a question, it's always better. Just what do you want me to do? It's always better. Now, I will tell you this. Now, let me start with some basic question forms. And by the way, this is a lifetime of study. You don't learn this overnight, but you got to start somewhere. And so let's talk about an alternate of choice question. An alternate of choice question is a question, and by the way, you heard it in the call in for sale by owners video that we did earlier. In the calling for sale by owners video, I said, Mr. Seller, can I come out at 2 or would 4 be better? I didn't say, can I come out yes or no? I said, can I come out and see your house at 2 or would 4 be better? And by the way, I've had people say, gee, neither one of those times are good for me. Can you make it at 6? You bet. But if you give them a choice between those two, this is powerful medicine. This is powerful medicine. And now, by the way, alternative choice is not only good for appointments. For instance, young couples trying to decide, should we buy this house? I say, listen, y'all want to make a decision and put your name at the bottom of that contract? Or do you want to let somebody else make the decision for you? I said, what do you mean by that? Well, if you don't buy it today, it might not be there tomorrow. It's there today. I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, but I know if you put your name at the bottom of that contract, we're ready to go. You got a pen or you want to use mine? And now, that's alternative choice. And alternative choice is powerful, powerful medicine. By the way, alternative choice is powerful medicine for showing people. Sometimes you can ask them things like, listen, if I knew something that would help you, would you want me to tell you, or would you rather just kept my mouth shut? I'd rather you just kept your mouth shut, Ron. Okay. I'm not going to tell you got broccoli in your teeth, so I was going to, but I won't. Now, y'all know I'm kidding. Now, another thing I do, and I do this all the time, I'll say things to people like, is this true or false? Is this true or false? And you can say, is this true or false? And then you make a statement, is this true or false? All realtors are dishonest. Is that true or false? They say, well, that's probably false. There's probably some honest ones out there. I suspect there's probably more honest ones than dishonest ones, but by putting it in the form of a, is this true or false, it just kind of brings it together. It's a great question form. By the way, if you're talking to people, they're here from Chicago, you need to ask them, what did you like most about your house in Chicago? What did you like least about your house in Chicago? You're talking to an expired listing. What did you like most about your old realtor? What did you like least about your old realtor? Just all the time. What did you like least about? What did you like most about? Man, it won't take long. You know exactly what they're looking for. And by the way, if you're listing houses, say, you got any friends that listed their house lately? Yeah. How was that experience? Well, they listed with your company. It was a very pleasant experience. Well, your experience will probably be the same. So ask them, do you have a friend? Now, by the way, you got to learn to do this. You got to learn to do this. If I could, would you? If I could, would you? Now, here's the way this works. They say, Ron, would you list our house for 90 days? Say, well, you know, I'm one of the senior salesmen down there at the office. I guess if I went in and, you know, begged the sales manager to do me a favor and let me violate the rules just this one time, I probably could. If I was willing to do that, are you ready to go for 90 days? You ready to sign a contract right now? If I could, would you? You know, anytime somebody asks you, why do you think they'll take less? If they will, are y'all ready to make an offer now? Yeah. How much did you want to offer? And if I could, would you? Anytime somebody says, you know, will you do this? Don't just say yes or no. If I do that, will you do that? If I could, would you? By the way, don't ask difficult questions. You know, this learning curve thing is amazing. I remember one time, I must have been in the sales business about a year. I don't know where I got this stupid notion, but I got the notion that if I go out and see for sale by owners and people like that, and I ask them difficult questions, questions that they didn't know the answer to, and then when they didn't know the answer, voila, I knew the answer. That seemed like a good plan. That's a stupid plan. Don't be doing that, folks. Anytime you ask somebody a question, and by the way, I'm talking about something like, how much are the taxes on your house? Now, that's not a difficult question if you know the answer, but you'll be amazed. I say half the for sale by owners don't know the answer to that question. So if they say, how much are the taxes on your house? And they say, well, I don't know. Well, here's what happens, folks, especially a man and his wife together. He doesn't know. He's embarrassed in front of his wife. Do not ask people questions that embarrass them in front of their spouse. Do not do that. Don't do that. And so he says, oh, you know what, they're probably about $3,000 a year. And, you know, just get on to something else. Don't ask them difficult questions. And if you ask them difficult questions and they don't know the answer, give them an escape route. Oh, we'll find out later. It's not important. Who cares? Now, there's a thing called tie downs, which are kind of like a question in reverse. That's when you say, this is true, isn't it? That is lovely, isn't it? You love that, don't you? This is the house for you, don't you think? And if you'll stick these little, don't you think, isn't that right, are you with me, on the end of your sentences, they are great. Isn't it, doesn't it, wasn't it, couldn't it, wouldn't it? Stick them on the end of your questions. They're magic. Now, you gotta master this. You've got to master this, folks. When people ask you a question, answer it with a question. Now, especially, by the way, this is critically important on the phone, making appointments with buyers. When you got that buyer on the other end of the line, you don't quite have them reeled into the boat yet, just learn to answer questions with a question. Does it have a fireplace? Did y'all want a fireplace? No, we hate fireplaces. Oh, well, this house has a fireplace, but would you be interested in one just like it, less expensive, with no fireplace? But answer those questions with a question. Now, you don't always have to flippantly answer them with a question. Sometimes you can answer the question and then close with a question. Ron, how much would our payments be on X amount of dollars? Well, that'd be about X. Is that comfortable for you? So you've answered their question, but is that comfortable for you? And did y'all want to go ahead with this today? So come back with a question. By the way, you can ask a question just with your face. You don't even have to say a word. You know, they say something like, Ron, this house is too big. You know, too big. Too big? Yeah. Oh, well, if it was the same size and we cut the price in half, would it still be too big? No, it'd be just about the right size if the price was cut in half. I got you. But, you know, just, you can use your face to ask a question. And that's a great thing to do. Now, let me close by explaining closing to you. And once again, this is elementary stuff, folks. In the question business, there's a question called a closing question. A closing question is a question, the answer to which confirms the sale, says we've bought. All right? Closing question, did y'all want your payments on the 1st or the 15th? Well, we'd like them on the 1st. Good, because that's the only way the bank will do it. Let me write that down here. Payments on the 1st. And why don't you go ahead and just put your name right there at the bottom of the page. And by asking them to do that, that's a close. Now, I will tell you this. In the sales business, closing is, well, it's somewhat of a lost art. And it's somewhat of a lost art because a lot of people think if you're good, you don't need to close. Actually, the truth is, if you're good, nobody notices you are closing. That's the truth. But here's the deal. You don't want to be asking closing questions and continually get a no, 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 no. People that do that, they call them high-pressure salesmen. So what you want to do is you want to have what we call a trial close. A trial close is where you ask a question. It's not a closing question. But if you get a positive response to it, you know they're ready to be closed. For instance, if we're out with Mr. For Sale by Owner, we want to make an appointment to come back and do a listing presentation later. I say, Mr. For Sale by Owner, I'd like to come show you some things that would help you get your house sold, a few tips here. Would that be a benefit to you? Would that be a benefit to you? Do you see any value in that? Do you see any good to that? They say, yeah, that looks like it'd be a benefit. So now, by the way, if they say, heck no, I don't see any benefit to that, well, don't come back with 2 or 4 be better, because you got a negative response to your trial close. So if you get a negative response to the trial close, you don't need a close. So you get a negative response, so forget it. But if they say, would that be a benefit to you? Yeah, I see some benefit to that. Well, great. Shall we make it 2 o'clock or is 4 o'clock better? No, come on back at 4. So would that be a benefit to you, or some variation of that is a trial close? Y'all think if you had it, you'd use it? Yeah, if we had it, we'd use it. Then you want me to have it delivered? Sure. Whatever it is. Are y'all with me? And so that's a little bit about questions. But the more you're asking questions, the more you're learning. The more you're asking questions, the more you're perceived as a caring person. You're never wrong asking a question. Oh, how do y'all like this? We hate it. Whew. I'm glad I didn't say I liked it. And so you're never wrong, and you're always in control of the conversation. The guy that's asking questions is in control of the conversation. Very subtly, very gently, very nicely, but in control. So y'all work on answering questions, and just, by the way, if you can't remember questions, like I said, get you a little book, write them down, put them on the back page, flip over, oh, let me ask you a question, Mr. Seller and Mr. Buyer. And by the way, this is information. This works with buyers, this works with sellers, it works with first dates, it works with anybody that you're doing any kind of interaction with. Asking questions. Ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. How would you like to do it, Mr. Customer? Oh, I can't do it that way, but I can do it this way. So work on that. Like I said, let me ask you a question. If you got any benefit from this, have you got any benefit from this? And if you got to recommend a real estate school, Climer School of Real Estate. We teach classes online. We got our 45-hour sales training class where we cover this kind of material and the stuff that's in that course. And if you know somebody wants to get a real estate license, or, by the way, if you know some poor soul that's taken the state exam about 3 times, send them to watch my math videos on YouTube, right here on YouTube. Our username is Climer School. And by the way, if you haven't watched the previous videos to this, I would urge you to go back and watch those, because if you're into prospecting, and I'm going to do one about goals, because I think that's something that if you don't have goals, none of this makes any difference. All right, good luck. Keep calling.